Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Hello, I hope you understand how special this is for me to be able to serve you this way, because I know you care for somebody, and if you care for somebody, you want to minimize risk. But you also want to please them, don't you? You know, a lifetime of pleasing people just can't go out the window. So what I'll do is I'll get a little bit of a technique going here and build a little recipe around it, and then I'll do the major dish and come back and what I call springboarding, you know, jumping up and down on a good idea and then doing your own dive into special circumstances, you know, which are just yours. Well, some time ago, I noticed in doing the Graham Kerr show, you know, the one with all the people in the audience, that the audience was sort of stepped down like this, and I was over here in some strange way, sort of saying, hi, you know, business, feet as well. And I did a dish which was a Chinese dish, which required Bao Syang. And Bao Syang means an explosion of fragrance. Well, I was in the middle of doing this and asked the audience how long it took for them to actually get to smell this baoziang. Well, somebody put their hand up at the back here, and we're just assuming that he was telling the truth, that he had actually smelt it, well, either willfully or in actual fact, he smelt it in 23 seconds. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When you do this dish, this explosion of fragrance, which is so important to get under food, which is going to have lower fat, salt, and sugar, is going to hit you right in the nose. You're going to inhale, and you're going to think you arrived in heaven. Well, Chinese heaven, whatever that's like, okay? So do have a look at this dish. It's a great little technique called Bao Syang. Okay, well, this is another one. There's great ways in which Asian influence can come into Western food. It's called fusion, and it literally, from the East comes a great idea and meets a Western idea, and they sort of overlap and become more of the sum of the two parts. So anyway, what I've done is taken a traditional European oil, if you will, the olive oil or the canola oil, which is also called rapeseed oil. It's rather unfortunate, but that's the name of it. And this particular oil, the one that I'm accustomed to using, is it's called extra light. And that doesn't mean to say it's light in calories, it means it's light in flavor. It actually deodorize the oil so that there's none of that fruitiness, you know, of the extra virgin olive oil, which some people absolutely adore, but other people don't like it. So you can be the choice of that one. And then I also have just a little spot here. Let me pour a little bit more into the glass. This is toasted sesame seed oil, unrefined. And it's a little bit saturated, but I use so little of it. And it's got the most wonderful, gorgeous flavor. Now, that is very Asian. So you make a marriage of the two just by putting in 1/16th part of the toasted oil to the, you know, to the untoasted, to this extra light, and put it together. And that's a monounsaturated oil. But this one, canola oil, is also monounsaturated. It has a lot more monounsaturated. So it's good from that point of view. Trouble is, it's a little unstable, and if it's exposed to light, you know, it can get a bit fragile. So put it in a dark bottle, keep it in the fridge, and it'll do just fine. All right. Here. Take a little bit of that with just that little flavor of the sesame seed, about 1/4 teaspoonful. You don't need much at all. It's just enough to be able to break out the natural oils which smell gorgeous, this explosion of fragrance. Tell you what you need for that. You need 4 spring onions, green onions, you know, whatever they're called around the world, scallions. And a clove of garlic is the second of the 3 musketeers, and the third one up is this. Now, I don't know whether you know what that is, and if you don't be too upset about that, because you know, some people don't. For example, we went to a school the other day just to find out how many people really knew what this was, and this is what we got.
I think it's a dinosaur bone. Hamburger. I don't know. I think it's a ginger ale. I'm an elephant with a truck. A doggy bone. I don't know what it is. A gingerbread man. Mom, cooking anything like this. I haven't cooked anything like this. So I guess I don't. So I guess I don't know what it is. A root. Is it a horsey? I know what it is. Maybe it smells like a flower. A big foot. A stick. It smells like a bone. No, I can't guess. Something to eat.
Now, that's what it. You know, my favorite one of this one, of all of those that they did, was the dinosaur bones. I thought that was, obviously they'd seen something recently, and so, or Bigfoot. Some of those were really tremendous. Thank you. And if you're watching at the present moment, young man, and your mother doesn't cook with this, I bet she'll cook with it now when she sees how it works. All right, good. Here, then, this is how we get it together. The white ends of this, and please, you don't have to worry about being very specific about how you cut it up, because it's all going to be squashed anyway. So put those on one side. We'll use it all up in a sec. And then the clove of garlic, you see, normal stuff. Just bash it quickly and chop it up, and so that's ready. And then the actual ginger itself. Now, here, what I actually need from this is about 10 thin slices. And since it all comes together quite quickly, I've also cut it in a rather large way there. I think I'll probably put up with about 5 because, you know, multiply them by 2 and, yeah, I understand. So that goes on one side. You can, by the way, keep that in a little brown paper bag and then put it into a Ziploc bag, you know, one of those things, and put that in the refrigerator, and that will keep for weeks and weeks and weeks. All right. Now, here in the pan, I've got the oil that I put before, and just simply dunk that down into the pan, and instantly, that's what actually happened in 23 seconds in the studio. Instantly, you get this absolutely phenomenal flavor bursting out of this. You must do the experiment just to see how wonderful it is. Okay. Whilst that's just frying along there for a moment, take a little shrimp. Now, these are 40/50s, which means there could be 40 or as many as 50 to the pound. And just take a sharp knife blade and run it down the back, like so. And then just peel the shell off from either side. I did one earlier on. It's just incredible how easy these things come out at certain times, and I was so pleased with myself. Just doing a little run through just on my own, you know, just to say, because I really would like to do this with such great skill. I mean, you know, just so that there would be a sharp intake of breath. And of course there isn't, so put that on one side. Keep that for a little stock with all the shells. They make great fish stock. If there's any sand track, sometimes you can get very gritty sand track in there. It's just the sort of little eating device. Now that I've got you all excited about it, you just wash your hands. No point to it, really. It's all very sanitary. And you just don't want grit in the dish. So there they are. I've got 12 ounces of those. Now, here in that pan, just when it's thoroughly now releasing its mix of flavors, dunk 1 cupful of chicken stock into the top. And instantly, this aromatic cloud is just fabulous. And you're going to be excited about that. All right. So when you've got that in there, just take that up, and we need to strain this now. Now, here, just to show you what it looks like. Strain it then down into a little pot, like so, and get every little bit out, because this is going straight back on the heat again in order to get ready for the next stage. So when you've got it strained, press it down, and because it'll be a little soft at this stage, so just squeeze out every last little morsel of flavor that you can from it. then toss it out. It's not worth anything else. Okay, so here we are. We're going to put that back in the dish in just a second. Just a little of the toasted sesame oil again, just another little teaspoonful, well, not half a teaspoonful, probably quite enough. And get ready, then drop in those shrimp. Now, 12 ounces of shrimp don't take long to cook at all. Just wind the heat up so that it's a nice high heat underneath the pan. And just toss them around. Good. Wonderful. Now, they'll take just about a minute of tossing around, and you notice that there's a little pattern of oil in the pan, but not much. It's not swimming in it, as you sometimes see. Here, then, is a mushroom, and the mushrooms are cut into quarters, and I've got 8 ounces of those, and those are just simply dropped down on the top as well, and given a chance to just get to know the shrimp. Just for a moment or two, happy coincidence if you happen to be in the same pan. And, oh, there we go. Don't want any stray bodies there. And there it is. Good. You remember the little extraction that we made there? When this is done, you just simply pour that baoziang mix on there. That's their little extraction. And then the mushrooms and the shrimp can cook in there just for a moment or two. And I'm going to make this into a soup. You could serve that over some pasta if you wanted at the present moment. Also over some rice would be more probably culturally correct. And then you take the green ends and cut them diagonally towards you, so that they make a different sort of shape rather than the normal shape, you know, straight across cut. There we go. And they're all ready to be able to sprinkle into the soup. Then 1 tablespoonful of the greatest Asian seasoning ever, fish sauce. These are anchovy-style fish that are allowed to soak for 6 months until they go fermenting, you know, rotten, you could say. And it has the most charming flavor. It really does. Good, a great aroma. But when you add that aroma to the rest, whoo, I mean, stand back. This is real food. And then just simply stir that together. Give it about 1 minute now so that you've got, in fact, the mushrooms and the shrimp come up to the boil. I don't want too much of a boil. You see already I've got a slight foam on the top. That's not what I want to see. I want to be able to get it out into the bowl, and I've got clarity. Oh, look. And the mushrooms should be sufficiently cooked so that they burst in your mouth, so that they're so full of lusciousness that they burst. Okay, let me turn all this off, because I can leave pans on, and that's not a good idea. Okay, come and have a look at the numbers. They're really interesting. I've actually compared this with a classic dish that I love, which is, of course, the gumbo, all right? A shrimp gumbo is just a wonderful thing. By the way, remember what we were trying to achieve? The Bao Syang, the explosion of fragrance, can go into any kind of dish, really. I'll show another one later on. But in this particular event, it just gets up underneath the food and makes it so neat. So I'm going to call this a kind of Thai soup. And a classic soup was, you know, with the shrimp. Gumbo. Okay, so I've got 99 calories out of that, which is really quite a drop, but of course there's a lot of rice in the gumbo. Fat is 15, that's down to 3, that's a good drop, and only 1 of which is saturated, which is fine. So that gives me this soup at 24% of calories from fat, and with low calories, it's a nice way to start a dinner. 80 of cholesterol, milligrams of cholesterol, and down 315, which is largely that fish sauce, on sodium, way down from here. Dietary fiber, I've only got 2 there, unusually, but you know that's because of all the rice and everything else, and you know in the gumbo. Okay, now I want to get one of those mushroom there. I know what the shrimp's going to taste like, but first of all, the Bao Syang is just amazing. I'm steaming up my glasses. Oh, God, that's so good. Oh, it's nectar. And that mushroom did just what it did. It bursts with that flavor inside the mouth. just got to try it. And shrimp's nice and crisp and they're green and things. Well, anyway. Now, you know, the whole idea behind this is take the technique and then wrap a little recipe around it like that one. But then it is to springboard. That is so important. Don't forget the springboard. Now, my springboard today is actually going to be a new dish, brand spanking new. It's an invention of mine for Chris Rauco, who happens to be my senior editorial assistant. And she had a baby recently, not on her own, as Michael was and her husband, and called Anna Skye. So this dish is named after the innocence of that perfect little child, all right? And it is an innocent little dish. Come and have a look. It's actually always a wonderful time when some member of our team has a baby. It's really special, and we're kind of a family. Okay, so there's a little of the ordinary oil, and there's just a little, the 50%, quarter of a teaspoonful of each of the toasted sesame, unrefined sesame oil, and also the, in this case, the very light olive oil, and all right, so it's a monounsaturated. Now, into the pan, roll it around, a little bit higher temperature than normal because I've got about 8 minutes to do this in, and I want to get that chicken cooked. All right, now those are 4 ounce to 6 ounce. You can't, you know, it's just so much you can do with the recipe, isn't it? I mean, you get somebody like me who says 4 ounce, and you go roaring into the supermarket, and there's no way you can find a 4 ounce chicken breast on that time. Well, then you're going to have to go up another ounce. I'm sorry about that. It's just one of those things. It's a little bit imprecise. You can't, otherwise you're sort of making pills and therapy and stuff, and that's not what we're into. We're into enjoying life, you know. Okay, so we take then the baoziang idea before. You remember how that's done? You just simply take the white off, and you don't need to make a big feast of that. Keep that on one side. And then also the very thin slices of the ginger. And once again, because I've started in this rather expansive way, that should be enough for me, about 5 slices of that. Normally it would be about the size of a 25-cent piece, and that's what I would try. If I was doing this as a stir fry, of course, what I would do would be to peel it properly and then cut it up into very fine little pieces so that I would be able to arrive at it in the whole stir fry. But I'm going to just express this out and get the extraction going from it, so I don't really need to have to worry. Okay? All right, so this is gone, and then you just simply get a small pan like this one. Doesn't have to be in a wok. A little tiny drop of oil again, always very small, enough to be able to break that aroma loose. I got a piece in there that sort of seems to want to get together with the chicken breast and come out before your time. Stir it around and get that going. Okay, now these are cooked with the skin on because they are much more plump and flavoursome that way. But you might notice something special about these as they're cooking. They're plumper than normal. And that's for a very intriguing reason. What I'm going to do with this is just simply take a de-alcoholized wine, not chicken stock now, as we did with the technique, but 1, 2, 3, 4, half a cup of that de-alcoholized wine, and then let that simmer right down until there's only just about a quarter of a cup left. So I want about a 50% reduction with that aroma going from it at the same time. That looks like this. And so you press it again slightly, but not too much, for a very interesting reason. Take that out, and you see the cloudiness of it. This is full of the baoziang flavor. Now this is where the sort of East meets the West idea. I've got what looks like an ordinary hypodermic syringe. It truly isn't. It has a very blunt end to it. In fact, squared off. You just couldn't get it into a vein or anything else like that. And so this is called a hypomarinade. So you take this and you take the chicken breast, which I must just turn once again. I want these to cook beautifully naturally on either side. And don't those look gorgeous? You know, they're all plump and all over again. Here then is the chicken breast. Now I'm going to take this marinade and just pump it in. See how that plumps up there, like so? You see? Isn't that incredible? This is going right in to that muscle, inside and out. Now I'm going to put about a fluid ounce almost a fluid ounce into each one of those breasts there. Now, what happens is instead of a marinade which just softens the outside, this goes in the center and carries flavor inside. So that's why these look plumper than they would normally look. Oh, and the smell. It's coming off the pan. I've got this coming up from here, but it's also in the center and it's dropping into the pan and doing wonderful things. So I always cook it with the skin on because it keeps that succulence within the center of the chicken breast. All right, good. Now over here, some boiling water. I just want to drop in some bok choy there. Now this is a green-leafed, white-stemmed vegetable, which is an absolute sensation, and a large bok choy can actually go into that altogether. I just want a small amount to show you. But this is what it looks like. If you've ever seen one of these in vegetable shop, just go and get one. You'll notice that it gets a certain amount of very fine earth in here, so rinse it out very well before you use it, and just pass a knife through it all the way. And it actually cooks very much at the same time. It's very crisp, that white root, but it's very tender at the same time. It's not a root stem. Okay, now let's have a look at these chicken breasts here. So we can take the chicken breast, hold them steady, pull off the skin here, always going from the bottom, and rip it right up, turn it over, and rip it off. See how quickly that works? It's such a simple idea. There we go. And now we've got a residue which is cropping up in the bottom of the pan, but that, of course, is also full of fat. So just lift the chicken breast out of the pan. There we go. And in a very quick manner, just blot up those juices there, which are just solid fat. That's fat. And remember, I always keep these as fire lighters. And then pop them into a plastic bag and keep it as a firelight. It gives a marvelous feeling. And people say, are you barbecuing again last night, neighbors? And I said, no, we're lighting our fire. So now just a couple, just to deglaze the pan, couple of ounces, just pour it onto the surface. You see how it did away with the glaze in the bottom of the pan? And take just a little bit more of that, just a teaspoonful of arrowroot, and just a couple of, just really a tablespoonful of the arrowroot there, and just pour it quickly into the pan, shoot it around, and what you've got built up there is a glaze, all right? Now that is just a glaze on the bottom of the pan. And then you can put all of those back in, just shoot them around. Oh, look how plump and gorgeous they are. And you see how they glisten now? Just fantastic. And all I need to do then is to take, I feel like a short order cook. Coming right up, bok choy for one, you know, breasted chicken, yep, and just a little bit of the steamed rice here, just on the side. Oh, goodness. Simple, elegant, very much like little Anna Skye, who's just gorgeous and so simple and lovely person. All right, poured over the top, just a few little flecks of green onion could go onto the top of there to make it look nice, but I want to compare these numbers, so I'm going to let that shoot. All right, off there. Come on, let's have a look. There. Now, looks marvelous. All right, that is a simple, elegant-looking dish. So is this. And with the same vegetables exactly, I want to compare the classic, which is a sauté with a cream-finished glaze off the bottom of the pan. Very much a Northern European idea. Classic is in red, and a Skye is in green. And I take my glasses off and can't see a thing. 483 calories to that one, quite a drop. 6 calories down from 38, and only one of those are saturated, which gives me a 10% of calories from fat veal, with only 58 milligrams of cholesterol, 239, look at the drop in sodium there, and just 1 up on fiber, as normal. And just a little bit of a chew in here. I tell you, you know, this is the time that I love most of all. You see how that comes together. You see how glistening that looks. And the smell of it is just, oh. Lovely. Innocence. innocence. It's so good. By the way, one thing that's been occurring to me is, Christmas and all. If you're worried about all these numbers and you want to get them done, and I know I go awfully fast about that, everything is in the book, numbers and the whole lot. So if you want that, it's there. This is just delicious. A little Anna Skye. If you're watching at the moment, and I know that you're almost running around at the present moment, God bless you. Thanks for giving me the inspiration. Thanks for being with me. God bless you. Lots of love.